Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk, a Gift of Life Michigan series that explores the stories of people who benefit from organ and tissue donation. I'm Patrick O'Brien, Chief Communications Officer for Gift of Life Michigan, and joining me is Susan Rink, Chief of Philanthropy and Foundation Programs. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Patrick. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. We've got a great program planned for today. We're going to hear some stories of some board members of the Gift of Life Foundation. We've got Maria Wade coming on a little bit later. Her husband received a kidney. And we've got Rachel Kuntz from the Lansing area, and she is a heart recipient. I know a little bit about their stories, but I'm really interested in learning more. So, yeah. So we've got viewers who are watching us live, and we've got viewers who are going to be watching the replay. If you're watching us live, give us a thumbs up. Whether you're watching us live or on the replay, share this with your friends so that they can have an opportunity to see this program. We also have a chat. So tell us why you support organ and tissue donation. We're ready to answer your questions, and our guests a little later would be happy to answer your questions as well. So with that, let's get started. So Susan, tell us a little bit about you and the Gift of Life Foundation.
Okay, well, thank you, Patrick. Like you said, I'm Susan Rink, and I'm the Chief of Philanthropy and Foundation Programs for the Gift of Life Foundation. And the Gift of Life Foundation is a nonprofit organization whose mission predominantly is to support Gift of Life Michigan. We have been in existence for just under 50 years. Gift of Life Michigan is celebrating our 50th this year, and the Gift of Life Michigan created the foundation 1 year after their establishment. And the purpose was to have a nonprofit organization specifically focused on receiving financial contributions that were given to further our mission. So the foundation receives memorial gifts from our donor families. We receive honorary gifts from transplant recipients, and then we receive generous contributions from community members as well as our corporate and nonprofit partners.
That's great. Gift of Life Michigan is our state's only organ and tissue procurement organization. Donation doesn't happen in the state of Michigan without the hardworking people at Gift of Life Michigan. So all of the organs and tissues that people generously donate in this darkest time in their life creates this opportunity for other people to have life or have their life enhanced. And so tell us about some of the programs that the foundation supports that enhances that mission of Gift of Life to honor donation.
Absolutely. So historically, the foundation has had a community grants program where we seek applications on an annual basis in January, and our Board of Trustees vote on those applications at our May meeting. We actually just had it last night. So stay tuned, any of you out there who may be a grant applicant for our next fiscal year. The news is coming. So those programs for the community grants include things about increasing awareness about organ and tissue donation, or educational programs to some of our community partners. And that's been a historic program that we funded for years. And we hope to grow that programming with some additional philanthropic support. I've been in my role for almost 3 years. Prior to my joining the foundation, we weren't actively fundraising. So this has been a transitional time for the organization. which has been a really tremendous, and I'm so proud of the work that we've done, and I look forward to all the work that we will be doing. In addition to those community grants, we also have opportunities for lecture series grants that are also voted on by our Board of Trustees. And those are typically awarded to our hospital or transplant center partners to do education with their champions about something of a more clinical nature.
That's great. I know we've got 9 transplant centers in the state of Michigan who we are trying to support the donor families that go through there. On the communication side of things at Gift of Life Michigan, we're trying to get more people, actually every adult in the state of Michigan, to say yes to be an organ donor. How does the foundation support that? And what are some of the future plans that the foundation has for taking all of this to the next step?
Absolutely. So our community grants that we award between just over $100,000 on an annual basis, typically, a lot of that is focused on increasing awareness for the registry, partnering with our community partners to set up events to get individuals on that registry. So we are reaching out to, Michigan is blessed to have a lot of organizations that want to help promote organ and tissue donation. So, and we're all very collaborative together. So we work together with that. And in addition, we also like to support our transplant centers through 2 historic funds that the foundation has had. And those are funds that we directly provide support to transplant recipients at the transplant centers for, and we work with the transplant center social workers to determine who is of a need to receive those funds. And they help with immunosuppressant drugs, unmet medical insurance, things as simple as maybe an Uber ride to the hospital for their appointment because they may not be able to actually get there. And our reasoning behind making sure that we continue to support those recipients is we want to make sure that the generous dollars that folks have given to the foundation to support Gift of Life Michigan's mission go back to support those transplant recipients so we can ensure that that life-saving organ remains healthy and gives them years and years of additional life. And we also provide funding directly to the social workers for some of the unmet needs they may have within their budget, kind of an emergency fund for them to go that one step further to help those recipients. So those 2 areas, promoting the education, at 3, working with our community partners, and then our commitment to our recipients are some of the main things that we want to continue to fund and enhance.
Such fantastic work helping recipients and supporting donor families, both sides of that equation. We have wonderful people on the Board of Trustees for the foundation. We're going to meet 2 of them in a minute. Tell us a little bit about the role of a trustee and how they support the mission.
Absolutely. So like most, probably almost all nonprofits, we have a governing board, which is our Board of Trustees. And they oversee the organization, they oversee our financial statements, and provide that fiduciary oversight to ensure that the organization is meeting their mission and their guidelines, as well as, following our bylaws. The work of the foundation couldn't be done without the Board of Trustees. Like I said, I've only been around almost 3 years. Prior to that, it was support from Gift of Life Michigan staff. But really, this group of trustees that I've had the pleasure and the honor to work with for the past couple of years are amazing group of people, completely committed to this mission. Some, as you'll meet, are recipients. Others in our board are connected via donor family. We have some clinicians on board. So it's a very beautiful blend of folks that are offering personal and professional skills and traits that'll help further our nonprofit. But at the same time, we're centered to the mission, which I think is really important to ensure that we're planning and working and enhancing our opportunities with the right mission in mind.
Thanks so much, Susan. Your enthusiasm is contagious about donation, and your passion for our mission is an inspiration. Thank you for what you do every day to help the foundation.
It's truly my pleasure.
Wonderful. Well, next up, we're going to welcome our guest, Maria Wade. Her husband, Keith, is a liver recipient. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you for having me.
And we're also going to welcome Rachel Kunsch. She is president of Public Health Care Consulting in Lansing, Michigan. Welcome, Rachel.
Good afternoon. Glad to be here.
Well, you both have served as trustees for the foundation. Thank you for that service, but you also have a connection to donation directly. And Maria, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about your story and what your connection to donation is.
So I actually have a couple of donation stories to tell here. One starts actually with my father-in-law, who is Keith's dad, who's my husband. He actually had end-stage liver disease and was listed for transplant in 2014. So our family was on this journey in hopes that he would receive a life-saving organ donation. And in that meantime, while he was waiting, Keith developed liver disease as well. But
Keith is your husband.
Keith is my husband, believe it or not. So we were waiting and very hopeful for my father-in-law, Tony. And unfortunately, in January of 2015, he passed away. And little did we know, 11 months later, Keith would be driven to U of M hospital to the emergency room by my daughter, who made a pact with him because she knew he wasn't feeling well. And he kept putting it off. He kept telling me my follow-up appointment's in January. I'm going to make it then. And my one daughter, who's very persistent, said after he was coaching a basketball game, if you're not feeling better tomorrow, I'm taking you to the emergency room. Well, she showed up at our front doorstep and he was ready to go to the emergency room. And it was emergency in nature. He ended up being there for 10 days and in the ICU. And it was determined he too now had end-stage liver disease and would need a transplant. We were shocked, and even more shocked because we found out that our insurance would not cover a transplant.
Oh my gosh, scary and then frightening on top of being scary, I'm sure.
Definitely. But we were hopeful. We were at a strange period where it's open enrollment for insurance, and the U of M finance coordinator there was heaven sent. Literally sat down in our room with me to go over the different insurance options I had available. I didn't know how we were going to pay for it, but I went for it. And Keith started to stabilize. We were very lucky because even though he couldn't be listed for transplant at that point because of our insurance, they ran as many tests as they could, hoping that we would make it to the beginning of the year where we could get him listed. Keith went home with us December 23rd. We spent the holidays together, very low key and very appreciative, praying every day we could make it to January 1st. So you can imagine what New Year's was like in our house.
Oh, I bet.
A lot of prayers, a lot of thanks being given to get to that point. And we actually had our son getting ready to celebrate his 16th birthday on January 4th, and that was Keith's goal. Unfortunately, Keith had some neuropathy and a lot of pain that forced him to go to the emergency room again on January 3rd, and he was super disappointed. But he needed to be in the hospital. Things were getting worse, and the one promise I made actually to our son, Brandon, who was turning 16, was that he could get his driver's license. And so I made sure the family was so supportive, staying with Keith in the hospital, and Brandon and I went and did that long wait at the Secretary of State. But one of my favorite memories is I remember standing there in line, and there's the footprints with the heart on the floor. And I remember pointing to it because it's asking people, are you signed up for the donor registry? And I remember pointing to it and telling Brandon, this is going to save your dad's life.
Amazing.
Little did we know, literally a couple of days later, we got the fantastic news that he was now listed for transplant and eligible. And we were prepared, actually, because he stabilized, to bring him home on January 8th, just a few days later after learning he was listed for transplant. And my daughter and I went to pick him up, and he said, I'm not going anywhere. And I'm like, oh, what now? It was something else. And he said, they found a donor. And it's hard for me to not lose it right now. My daughter immediately started crying, but we actually were sharing a room with another patient who had been on the transplant list since July. And they were right next door to us. And although I was overjoyed, I knew at the same time, she stepped over the wife and she was crying and so happy for us, but it was very mixed emotions. But that day we knew he was going to be going into surgery. We actually rushed out because our son was going to be playing in a high school basketball game, which they won that day. Keith was like, remember the Titans. I think he was shouting. The nurse came in and she was like, you can't shout like that. He was with his mom, who was showing him on FaceTime the game. But we all rushed after the game to be with him in preparation for him going in. And it was a special time for our family, but Brandon did really well at that game and they were interviewing him afterwards. And I'm like, they need to cut it. We've got somewhere to go. And really, it was amazing to see this support, not only with our family and our friends, but our community that rallied behind us. And on January 9th, 2016, Keith received his gift of life from an angel donor, and we're eternally grateful.
Thank you, Maria. Wow, that story it just hits home the need that is out there and the anguish. 2,700 nearly families are going through right now. That's the number of people on the waiting list here in the state of Michigan as we speak. And your husband is a beneficiary of that, and we're so thankful that he is and doing well, I presume.
He is, and if anyone thought, he's a big social media guy, especially Twitter, and every day he wakes up with gratitude. And if you follow him on Twitter, you'll notice he wakes up every day and he'll have #blessed, and you know that's his way of just recognizing and giving thanks to the donor.
That's fantastic. And your son at the Secretary of State's office, if every person in Michigan who goes into a Secretary of State office says yes, we wouldn't have that number of people on the waiting list.
Yes,
so
that's what this is all about, is spreading that message so no one has to wait and not make it and see the other side of this.
That's right. Well, thank you, Maria. Rachel, your story, this gets a little closer to home. This is you, right?
Indeed, it is. Yeah, I had quite a surprising trip to my doctor's office in November of 2018. I had thought maybe I was coming down with a cold because I was just having some shortness of breath and wasn't feeling great, feeling a little run down, but I'm a very healthy individual, so I didn't think much of it. And while I was at my regular doctor's, they did an EKG and said, you need to go to the hospital. And I actually asked if I could drive myself. I didn't know what was happening. And they said, no,
you better not do that.
Yeah, we called an ambulance. So I actually was in congestive heart failure and didn't know it. I had just over the course of a few days gotten very, very sick, but didn't know what was happening. So I went to the emergency room. They moved me quickly into ICU, and I spent about 6 days in ICU before transferring to the University of Michigan. I was initially misdiagnosed. They were trying to figure out what was happening with my 44-year-old self, because I was completely healthy and had no family history. I had no heart issues whatsoever. I was a runner. There was just nothing that could explain it. But fortunately, Michigan medicine were able to diagnose me with a very rare idiopathic, which means they don't know the cause, condition that unfortunately was something that was so grave, the only solution for me was a heart transplant.
Wow.
And it was
How
a
did
very,
that feel? That had to, I mean, I can't imagine receiving that news.
yeah, it was shocking. It was really shocking. I mean, initially they thought I had a heart attack because of heart damage, which was shocking as someone who, you know, I was on no medication. I had no health issues whatsoever. So that was mind blowing. And then the congestive heart failure was sort of like the hits kept coming. And so when I found out, I knew there was a possibility by the time I got that diagnosis, but it was a very outside possibility. And so when the doctor said, yes, you have, it's a condition called giant cell myocarditis, and the only solution is a transplant, it was shocking. And yet somehow, you know, I just had a sense of calm, and when you face your own death, you learn a lot about life and yourself. And so I learned a lot in that day, but I was really gravely ill at that point. So I was rapidly put on the transplant list. Within a couple of hours after my diagnosis, U of M put me on ECMO, which is a life support system that essentially bypasses, takes the blood outside of the body, bypasses, and allows it to be oxygenated externally. So I was put on ECMO, and in my mind, I thought, okay, eventually, you know, a donor will be identified, and I will be okay. But what I didn't know at the time was that I would only live for a few days on ECMO without a match. So it was quite an unbelievable experience that was happening. But thankfully, I was very fortunate that U of M was able to not only diagnose me and put me on ECMO, but move very rapidly to put me on the transplant list. And the day after I was put on the transplant list, which happened to be Thanksgiving Day, a donor match was found.
Wow. Thank goodness that happened. I can't imagine the relief. Were you aware at this point? Were you understanding what was going on? How did that news feel?
Oh, yes, I was very aware. I was actually fully conscious when I was put on ECMO. My heart was too weak for me to be sedated. So I was aware of everything that was happening to me and feeling all of it, emotionally and physically. So my family, we were all overjoyed. Of course, it was
about a Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thing as a recipient. You're very aware that while you're celebrating, someone else is grieving.
Yeah.
That's never been lost on me. It wasn't lost on me when I was praying for that match. I knew that in order for me to live, that meant someone else would not. But the reality is that we can't take our organs with us.
That's right.
And death is inevitable for all of us. So when we sign up, when we register, it allows someone else like me to get a second chance. So the joy that we all felt that day was pretty overwhelming.
Well, and that person is living on through you and through the other organs, if there were any that were recovered from that donor, that generous person, that generous family, in their darkest hour, saying, maybe we can have a silver lining here and save someone else. And you're the someone else.
I am, and I've been blessed to be able to live my best life since I've fully recovered and have. I'm in very good health and have had no signs of rejection. I am active as I ever was. So.
Well, we are thrilled you are here, and you're not taking this for granted. You're giving back, and you've been involved with Gift of Life Michigan and Gift of Life Foundation. So, besides the obvious, what has been your interest in becoming involved in the foundation, Rachel?
Well, I was not familiar with the transplant world until I had to be. It wasn't something where I had an ongoing condition and was aware of any of it. It was days of awareness. 11 days from going to the doctor to having a new heart beating in my chest is pretty fast. And I knew right away that I had been given a gift that I needed to pay forward. And so I volunteer at U of M and meet with transplant recipients, and immediately went through the Gift of Life volunteer training to help where I could. And then when I was asked to join the Gift of Life Foundation board, it was no question, absolutely yes. I'm very aware that not only was I blessed to have a donor match, but I was also blessed, frankly, to have good health insurance. And there are a lot of people who don't have that life experience. And one of the things that inspires me most with the foundation is the work that is done to help ensure that donor families and recipient families are taken care of. And those contributions that are so critical to help them get the care they need is a big inspiration to me.
That's one of the things that I have found so interesting is the different aspects and the many ways that people need to be supported throughout this whole process. And excuse me. And the foundation does that. So
we choked you up, Patrick.
Well, yes, you did. Maria, tell us a little bit about, same question, your interest in the foundation.
Once again, it's really giving back. Keith, since he received his transplant, and most recipients are given the opportunity to reach out with writing a letter or a card to the donor family. And that really was my first introduction into really all of the work that Gift of Life does. And so that was our first touch. Keith has written a few letters, and they give you kind of the guidelines of what to put in that to be respectful of the donor family, and also understanding that they may not be in a position because they're grieving to write you back.
Right.
So,
that's right.
Understanding that and respecting it and honoring it, although he'll continue to write the letters, we as a family want to find a way to give back because we do feel so grateful. And Gift of Life really does so much. It's not just raising awareness. We know personally the drugs that you need may not be covered by your insurance afterwards. One of the drugs that Keith needed was not covered, and it was over $3,000. So there are just so many things, and I feel really so grateful to be able to give back by being on the board. And Susan has joked saying that she's kind of getting a 2-for-1 because she's getting myself and Keith. But I really think spreading the word of what this foundation does and what the gift of donation is really all about.
Well, thank you. So Rachel, what are some of the things now that you've been involved with the board that you're most proud of? And Maria, same question for you.
Yeah, there's so much that the foundation and the Gift of Life as an organization is involved in to help families. But I think one of the things that is really easy to do, and I think we have stories to tell as recipients and donor families, and that inspires people to often to get behind a cause or get behind a mission. And so I'm on social media posting about organ donation, encouraging people to register a lot. I think I probably would unfriend people if they weren't registered to donate. But I think that, just awareness is huge, because it
really is.
Just like me, until you're faced with it, it's not something that you necessarily know a lot about or is on the top of mind. But it's very top of mind for people who are waiting, for those thousands of people that are hoping every day for a match.
Well, and if you're watching something like this, sharing it, following Gift of Life Michigan, following becoming a volunteer. One of the easiest ways to be a volunteer is just to share some of these videos and share these messages online, and as well as giving of your time and eventually financial support, hopefully. Maria, what about you? What are some of the things that you're most proud of about your involvement and the work that the foundation does?
Well, being a new board member, Keith, as I mentioned, he has been sharing his story. He's a big social media person. He's a coach in our community for basketball. We're a big basketball family. We've got 2 sons playing college basketball right now. And he actually, before Facebook fundraising became really a great platform, he started a GoFundMe on his transplant anniversary. We celebrate 2 birthdays for Keith, his birth date and then his transplant birth date, which is January 9th.
I would be celebrating that too. Yeah. I sure would.
So I think he started, I can't remember how many years ago, but he decided to start a GoFundMe as kind of a celebration of that birthday to honor his donor, and then made that donation to Gift of Life. And so now we're constantly sharing our story. There was an article, he's very willing to share that. And I think that's important because, as you mentioned, you never expect to be in this position. And to get people to sign up to be on that registry really does save lives, not just for my husband, for other people. And so looking to different ways to spread it on social media, sharing our story, and then fundraising. We're looking to come up with creative ideas. I know I've got a Giving Tuesday match with my company locally that we'll be doing in November, which actually happens to be Keith's first birthday this year.
Okay.
Good. Funny that these dates are all coinciding, but that's what I think we're most proud of.
Well, that's great that you and Keith have been doing this, and Facebook is an excellent way to raise money. And Rachel, you created a Facebook fundraiser for the foundation. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, last year for Giving Tuesday, there was a prompt from Gift of Life on their Facebook page around setting up a fundraiser. And it was sort of a no-brainer to me. I'm often posting on social media about donation, and it's really simple. You literally just click a button to create it. There's text already developed. I added to it a little bit to connect it to my story and posted it. And within 24 hours, more than $1,000 were donated. And it makes sense because the people that that are connected to me on social media, they've been with me through my whole story, through my whole journey. Our support network was huge. And so that their ability to say, okay, now we've seen this in action. We want to get behind it and support it as well. Was really powerful.
That is powerful. And thank you for doing that. Thank you both for telling us your stories. It's an inspiration to me to hear them, and I know to those watching. Susan, tell us how well Facebook fundraising and that sort of activity has done, and how else people can be involved.
Absolutely. Facebook fundraising has really transformed how nonprofit organizations try to reach out to people to support their mission. Like Rachel said, it is very easy to set one up. The nonprofits do have to go through a process to be an approved charity, but once that happens, it's embedded in our page, and the steps to set them up are very easy. We established ourselves as a Facebook charity in, I want to say July of 2019. So it's been just about almost 2 years now, and it's been incredibly transformative for the foundation. Last year, we raised over $40,000 on that platform with over thousands of individual contributors, and hundreds of these birthday celebrations or the Giving Tuesday celebration. Also, the unique thing, as we've mentioned, is that recipients celebrate for 2 days. So we've had we've had
right.
fundraisers to celebrate their transplant birthday or anniversary. And then we've also had donor families who are connected to our mission that have hosted Facebook fundraisers in memory of their loved one's birthday. So our unique message and our mission touches lots of different people at lots of different phases in their lives, from joyful moments of getting a life-saving gift to, ways to memorialize their loved one who was able to be a hero for others. The interesting thing is that the average gift we've seen is $40 from all those Facebook fundraisers. So it's a lot of people who are connecting with their friends and loved one through that Facebook platform that are giving of their treasure at a dollar amount that they can, which is, the cost to take my family to Wendy's for lunch. So it's something that a lot of us are able to do. And it's that power of the people that can really make a difference. So we're thrilled to continue to enhance that. We're thrilled to have people reach out to us, go to Gift of Life Michigan's website and host a Facebook fundraiser. If you have questions, we can help. But it's definitely something that I see will continue to grow. I believe as of last year, Facebook has donated over $6 billion to charities, and they've never taken a fee. So if you do set one of these up, 100% of the proceeds from that event will get transferred to the foundation. So it's, and also we know the names of the individuals, but this isn't an address grab. This isn't like we're buying a list from Facebook and we're going to start hounding all of the individuals that were so supportive of all of these individual Facebook, their connections. So it's, we like to go where the people are, and people are on Facebook. So we're thrilled that they're providing nonprofits with an opportunity to fundraise on that platform.
Excellent information, Susan. Rachel, Maria, you both are an inspiration. Thank you for telling us your story. Thank you for your service to the people of the state of Michigan by serving on this board. We really appreciate your time and for being with us. Thank you. We're going to wrap up today's program. Please, if you have not already done so, join the Michigan Organ Donor Registry. You can do that by going to golm.org. You can sign up there. Tell your friends and family of your intent to be an organ donor. It's very important that you do that. If you feel so moved, make a financial contribution to help the good work of Gift of Life Michigan and honoring life through donation. Join our mailing list. You can go to the website and become more involved as a volunteer, learn more information, follow us on social media, and create a Facebook fundraiser. I'm Patrick O'Brien. Thank you so much for being with us today. Bye-bye.